The Wager, a deep dive into each chapter. Part 1, The Ill-Fated Voyage. Chapter 1, The First Lieutenant. David Cheap, The Wager's first lieutenant, embodies the rigid hierarchy aboard the ship. A stern disciplinarian from a poor background, Cheap clashes with the more carefree young officers. He meticulously documents his duties, revealing a man of duty and routine, but perhaps lacking in charisma or leadership flexibility. This chapter sets the stage for the potential friction between social classes during the perilous journey. Chapter 2, A Gentleman Volunteer. John Byron, a wealthy young man with a thirst for adventure, joins the expedition as a volunteer. Unlike the career officers who view the voyage as a duty, Byron seeks excitement and social advancement. This chapter introduces the contrasting motivations of those on board. While some like Cheap are bound by duty and career prospects, others like Byron are driven by a sense of exploration and personal ambition. Chapter 3, The Gunner. Midshipman Jerome Bulkley, a skilled gunner with a keen eye for detail, keeps a meticulous journal throughout the journey. This chapter introduces Bulkley, who will become a crucial source of information about the events that unfold. His observations offer insights into the daily life on board, the crew's dynamics, and potentially foreshadow the challenges they might face at sea. Part 2, The Storm Within the Storm. Chapter 4, Dead Reckoning. This chapter dives into the complexities of navigation at sea in the 18th century. It emphasizes the reliance on dead reckoning, a method prone to errors due to factors like wind and currents. This foreshadows the potential peril when navigating uncharted waters and the importance of precise navigation skills. Chapter 5, The Storm Within the Storm. The chapter throws the reader into the heart of the terrifying storm that tears the Wager apart. It depicts the chaos, fear, and desperation experienced by the crew as they battle the fury of nature. Grann's vivid descriptions bring the storm to life, highlighting the vulnerability of even the most seaworthy vessels in the face of extreme weather. Chapter 6, Alone. The immediate aftermath of the shipwreck paints a grim picture. The survivors struggle to reach the desolate island, grappling with the loss of life, their shattered ship, and the harsh realities of their new surroundings. This chapter emphasizes the physical and emotional toll of the disaster and the resourcefulness required for survival. Part 3, The Gulf of Pain. Chapter 7, The Beast. This chapter confronts the reader with the brutal realities of life on the island. Scarcity of food and water, exposure to the elements, and the presence of hostile natives present constant threats. Grann explores the psychological strain on the survivors, pushing them to their physical and mental limits. Chapter 8, Wreckage. Desperate to build a semblance of shelter and a means of escape, the survivors turn to the wreckage of the Wager. This chapter highlights their ingenuity as they salvage materials and attempt to construct something new from the remains of their former vessel. It emphasizes their determination and collaborative efforts in the face of despair. Chapter 9, The Gulf of Pain. As desperation grows, tensions rise between the crew and Captain Anson. This chapter delves into the breakdown of order and the resentment brewing among the men. Cheap's strict adherence to the hierarchy clashes with the growing sense of injustice among the crew, setting the stage for potential conflict. Part 4, My Mutineers. Chapter 10, Our New Town. Despite the harsh conditions, the survivors attempt to establish a sense of normalcy on the island. They build rudimentary dwellings, hunt for food, and even create a makeshift garden. This chapter showcases the resilience of the human spirit and the survivors' ability to adapt to their dire circumstances. Chapter 11, Nomads of the Sea. Hope rekindled, the survivors embark on a perilous journey in a small boat they constructed, the Charity. This chapter details the challenges of building the boat, the meager supplies they could carry, and the daunting task of navigating uncharted waters in such a frail vessel. Chapter 12, The Lord of Mount Misery. The relationship between Captain Anson and Bulkley deteriorates further. Bulkley's journal entries, critical of Anson's leadership, become a source of contention. This chapter highlights the power struggles within the group and the potential consequences of questionable